Hi, I'm Sherilyn Roy, and this is
Joe Tong. We're with InstructionalFitness.com. Today we're going to go over a few video Q&As with you. And the first one I'm going to actually read is from Austin, Houston, Texas. Austin writes in and says, "Hello, thank you so much for the helpful info you have on the site. My question is it possible to see gains in strength but not size? I do get significant protein and I eat healthy. I take protein and trying to find a creatine I like, but I am 6'7" and 225 pounds. Could it just be that I am so tall? Thanks in advance, Austin." Austin, although height does have some bearing as far as it might take you longer to reach the goals that you want, don't let that deter you from your goals. There are a lot of pro athletes in the sport of bodybuilding who are over 6'2", 6'3", that are well over 300 pounds. I have a good friend of mine, over 330 pounds. He started off as a swimmer and went over as now a professional bodybuilder. So you can reach those goals. Just be patient. Don't be too concerned about putting on too quickly. A lot of times when that happens, people go in for the weight gain powders, which are full of sugars, and they end up putting a lot of fat on. So really take your time, try to put on solid quality muscle, because that's going to give an illusion of looking a lot bigger than what you actually are. And as far as creatine, the thing with creatine is you want to take about 16 grams a day. And that should be divided into 2 doses with at least 4 hours in between. So they've actually done studies to show that creatine before you train does not do anything for your workout. It's the creatine after you train that's important. So after you train, take about 8 grams. Creatine that I'd recommend is actually from John Scott's Nitro called Cell Drive. Besides being creatine, it also has branched chain aminos in it, a lot of other things that help for your recuperation after workout. And then either earlier in the day or later in the day, at least 4 hours in between, take another serving of creatine. Some people find that creatine might upset their stomach. So if you're one of those persons, if you feel a little bloated or something, New England just did a study and they found that creatine mixed with a warm beverage, whether coffee or tea, completely does away with the stomach irritation. So again, get with the creatine that you're taking about 16 grams a day, 8 after you work out, 8 either 4 hours before that or 4 hours after that. And you want to take it with the high glycemic carbohydrates so it's actually pushed into the cell quicker. Okay, and just do that. Stick with a good diet and be patient. As you put on quality muscle, you're sure to make gains that you enjoy and be happy with.
our next question is from Raluca from Romania. Hey guys, my name is Raluca, 21, and I'm Romanian. First of all, thank you for all the great videos. The explanations and advice have been very helpful. I would like to ask you about the legs vastus muscle. I have been practicing professional martial arts for 8 years, and these muscles have overdeveloped. My question is, how can I make them smaller? My gym workout starts with 30 to 40 minutes cardio, which has helped a little, but not enough. I try to only work on my legs 1 time a week, as I don't want them to become even bigger. Thanks. All the best, Raluca. Raluca, I guess in general, since your question's pretty broad, when you're trying to bring down a muscle size, I think circuit training is probably the best, where you put a lot of intensity into that muscle group and you continue through for about your whole training session, I guess. And circuits, just going from one exercise to the next, would be the best thing to make a muscle smaller.
I definitely think the circuit is the way to go. Also, looking back over your question, you talked about the vastus muscle. And unfortunately, you didn't get more detailed. I mean, you have the vastus latialis, vastus medialis. You know, there's 4 different muscles in the quads. You know, of course, there's rectus femoris, which is in the middle. You didn't mention. So without even getting more detail, there might be an exercise, for example, you might be doing hike squats, which work a specific area of the quadricep muscle. So if you want to write in later, if you have a more detailed description of what part of the thigh you're talking about, it would be a little more helpful. But in general, I think you're right. Anything, slower movements, heavier weights, you have a tendency to put on more strength and size. So something more cardio type of workout as far as a circuit is going to be your best bet. Yeah?
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, our last question comes from Kate in Somerset. Kate writes, "Hi Joe, when creating a workout routine, what's the best way to group muscles to work together for efficient shaping? Thanks, Kate." Kate, I think whether you're trying to put on muscle, trying to shape, it's all the same. One is going to depend on how many days a week you're training, if you're a beginner, intermediate, or advanced. A beginner, it's kind of overkill, but I say I'd like to go 3 days a week with at least a day off in between, just to get your body used to doing the exercise and getting the right form down. Once you get into more intermediate or advanced, you can split the body up in several ways. The most common is called the push-pull routine, where on one day you'll do all pushing muscles, which would be the chest, the shoulders, and the triceps. With that, you're using things to push away. The next day would be the pulling muscles, which are the back, the biceps, and of course you throw the legs in on that day. Or you could even take an extra day to do the legs by themselves. Seeing that this is from Kate for a girl that's asking more for shape, that's right up your alley. What would you recommend?
For a woman who wants shaping, I would actually go to the style of compound to isolation, where you're going from a chest exercise, where you're working your chest and your tris, and then going to a tricep exercise. I feel that shapes up the muscle a little bit better, and you're still adding a little bit more intensity into the triceps, since that's your secondary muscle group that you're working. And for back, it would be back and biceps. So you'd go from a back pulling exercise straight to a bicep exercise. Again, adding more overload into the bicep.
And then would you do legs a separate day since it's such a big muscle?
Yes, I would tend to definitely do legs on a separate day because it's really hard to get the back and the front. So I think it's good to group those two together.
Okay, great. See, that's what having an expert with you does. Gives us some advice here. So with that, we have our drawing for this week's Q&A, and the winner for that is going to be Alston from Houston, Texas. So you'll win a free shirt, and that'll go out to you right away. Thanks for tuning in. This is Joe.
And Sherilyn.
See you next time. Instructionalfitness.com.